After I became a millionaire, I learned that silence has a price, and sometimes we pay it in the currency of our own peace. The rain against the windows of my penthouse in Manhattan sounds different when you're alone. It's not the comforting rhythm I remember from childhood. It's sharper, more insistent, like fingers tapping against glass, demanding to be let in. I stand here now, wrapped in Italian cashmere, watching the city lights blur through the water streaks, and I think about how wealth changes everything except the one thing that matters most: the truth we run from. My name is Victoria Sterling. I made my first million at 32, my first 10 million by 35, and by the time I turned 40, I had built an empire in sustainable fashion that had my face on the cover of Forbes. But tonight, on the eve of my 43rd birthday, I'm holding a letter that arrived this afternoon. Cream-colored paper, expensive weight, familiar handwriting that makes my hands tremble in a way no boardroom presentation ever has. It's from Daniel, my ex-husband, the man I divorced 7 years ago, when I was still struggling, still dreaming, still believing that love could survive on ambition alone. The man who walked away, or did I push him? The details blur now, smoothed over by time and the stories we tell ourselves to survive. But this letter says he needs to see me, that there's something I need to know, something about why he really left. Before we continue, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Like this video so this story reaches more hearts, and subscribe for the next journeys. I met Daniel when I was 26, working 16-hour days in a cramped studio in Brooklyn, hand-stitching prototypes for a fashion line I couldn't afford to manufacture. He was a photographer then, capturing beauty in abandoned buildings and forgotten faces. We were both hungry, not for money, but for meaning, for something that would prove we mattered. He used to watch me work, his camera occasionally clicking, preserving moments I was too busy to notice. "You're building something extraordinary," he'd say. And I believed him, because I wanted to, because his belief felt like oxygen when I was drowning in doubt. We married quickly, recklessly, in a courthouse ceremony with 2 witnesses we pulled off the street. I wore a vintage dress I'd redesigned, and he wore his only suit. We promised forever with the confidence of people who don't yet understand what forever costs. But success, when it came like a flood. One viral moment, one celebrity wearing my design, one investment offer that turned into 10. Suddenly I was traveling, expanding, negotiating contracts in languages I barely spoke. And Daniel stayed in Brooklyn, in our old studio that suddenly felt too small, too quiet, too far from where I was going. I remember the night he told me he was leaving. We were in our new apartment, not this penthouse, but the first upgrade, a loft in Soho with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. I had just returned from Milan. He had just developed photos from a series he'd been working on for months, images I hadn't seen, hadn't asked about, hadn't made time for. "I can't do this anymore, Vic," he said, and his voice carried a weight I didn't recognize, not anger, something deeper, something that sounded almost like grief. I asked him what he meant. I remember feeling confused, defensive, already calculating how to fix this like it was another business problem with a strategic solution. "You don't see it," he said, "and maybe that's the problem. Maybe you're not supposed to see it." That phrase has haunted me for 7 years. You're not supposed to see it. What wasn't I supposed to see? His unhappiness? My ambition? The way we had become strangers who shared a bed but not a life? He left that night. The divorce was civil, efficient, almost businesslike. We divided assets we barely had, signed papers, wished each other well with the hollow courtesy of people who once promised everything. He moved to Seattle. I heard he was still doing photography, teaching part-time at a community college. I sent a Christmas card the first year, received nothing back. and let the silence grow until it became its own kind of answer. But now this letter sits on my marble countertop, and the rain keeps falling, and somewhere in this city of 8 million people, Daniel is waiting for a response I'm not sure I'm ready to give. Because the truth is, I've spent 7 years building walls around that part of my life. I've convinced myself that our marriage was a casualty of ambition, a necessary sacrifice on the altar of success. I've dated other men, successful men who understand the demands of building empires, men who don't ask me to choose between love and legacy. But none of them have made me feel the way I felt when Daniel looked at me across our tiny studio and said I was building something extraordinary. And now he wants to tell me something about why he really left. Something that, even through the careful language of his letter, I can sense carries a weight that might crack the foundation I've spent years constructing. The city lights shimmer through my rain-streaked windows, and I wonder if wealth has made me braver, or just better at hiding from what scares me most. I don't sleep. The letter stays on the counter, untouched after that first reading, but its presence fills the entire penthouse like smoke. By morning, the rain has stopped, leaving the city washed clean and sharp-edged in the early light. My assistant Rachel arrives at 7 as always, carrying my usual oat milk latte and a folder of items requiring my attention. She's 28, brilliant, organized in a way that borders on clairvoyant. She's never met Daniel. She came into my life 3 years after he left it, but she knows enough to read the tension in my shoulders. "Everything okay?" she asks, setting the coffee on my desk with the practiced efficiency of someone who has learned not to push. "Fine," I say, which is the lie we both pretend to believe. "What's on the agenda?" The day unfolds in the familiar rhythm of meetings and decisions. A call with manufacturers in Portugal about the new sustainable denim line. A strategy session with my marketing team about the fall campaign. Lunch with a venture capitalist interested in investing in my expansion into accessories. I move through it all with the precision of someone who has done this 1,000 times, saying the right things, making the right decisions, projecting the confidence that keeps empires running. But underneath, I'm counting hours. Daniel asked to meet tomorrow evening. 6 o'clock. A small cafe in the West Village called Madeline's, a place that somehow escaped the notice of my carefully curated social circles, a place that probably hasn't changed its menu or its worn leather booths in decades. I've walked past it 100 times and never gone in. Now I can't stop thinking about it. Between meetings, I find myself Googling Daniel's name, something I haven't done in years. The search returns results I've seen before, a website showcasing his photography, a faculty page at the community college in Seattle, a few archived articles about exhibitions from years ago. But there's something new. A recent interview in a small arts magazine about a series he's currently working on called The Things We Don't Say. I read it standing by my office window, 47 floors above Madison Avenue, while below me the city moves in its relentless current of ambition and survival. The interviewer asks about his inspiration. Daniel's answer is careful, measured. I think we all carry truths we're afraid to speak out loud, sometimes because we think they'll hurt others, sometimes because we think they'll hurt us. This series is about the space between silence and revelation, the moment before everything changes. My hands are shaking again. Rachel appears in my peripheral vision, hesitant. "Victoria? The car is here for your 4 o'clock. I close my laptop, compose my face, return to the performance of being the woman who has everything figured out. That evening, I stand in my walk-in closet, a room larger than the entire studio Daniel and I once shared, and realize I have no idea what to wear to meet your ex-husband who left you 7 years ago to tell you a truth that might unravel everything you've built. I choose black. Simple, expensive, armor disguised as elegance. Saline trousers, a silk blouse, minimal jewelry. I look in the mirror and see a successful woman, a self-made millionaire, someone who belongs on magazine covers and conference stages. But underneath, I see the girl in the Brooklyn studio, hand-stitching dreams she couldn't afford, believing that love and ambition could coexist if you just worked hard enough at both. I wonder which version of me Daniel wants to see tomorrow. I wonder which version is actually real. The morning of the meeting arrives with the kind of crisp autumn clarity that makes Manhattan feel almost forgiving. I cancel my afternoon appointments, telling Rachel I need time to prepare for an important evening event. Not entirely a lie, though the nature of the importance remains something I can't quite articulate, even to myself. I spend the day restless, moving through my penthouse like a visitor in my own life. The space is beautiful, designed by an architect whose waiting list is 2 years long, filled with art I purchased from galleries in Basel and Miami, furniture that appeared in Architectural Digest. Everything here was chosen with intention, curated to reflect success, taste, refinement. But today it all feels like a stage set, beautiful and empty. I find myself in my office, opening the bottom drawer of my desk where I keep things that don't fit anywhere else. Birthday cards from my mother who passed 3 years ago. A first-class ticket stub from the flight to Paris where I closed my first major international deal. A small leather portfolio I haven't opened in years. My hands remember before my mind does. Inside are photographs Daniel took of me during those Brooklyn years. Not the professional shots that eventually launched my career. These are different. Intimate. I'm laughing in one, flour in my hair from some failed baking attempt. In another, I'm asleep on our second-hand couch, surrounded by fabric samples. In a third, I'm looking directly at the camera with an expression I don't recognize anymore. Open, vulnerable, unguarded. There's one photograph I've avoided looking at for 7 years. It's me standing at our studio window at sunset, backlit so my face is half in shadow. I'm holding a piece of fabric up to the light, studying it with complete absorption. Daniel titled it, in his careful handwriting on the back, "The Moment Before She Conquered the World." I remember him taking this shot. I remember being annoyed that he was distracting me when I was working. I remember the way he smiled, not hurt by my irritation, just patient in that way he had, as if he could see something I couldn't yet see about myself. You're not supposed to see it. The words from that last night echo again, and suddenly I'm angry. Angry at the cryptic pronouncement, angry at the 7 years of silence, angry at this letter that has disrupted the careful equilibrium I've maintained, angry at myself for caring this much after all this time. I close the portfolio and return it to the drawer. At 5 o'clock I change clothes, still black but softer now, a cashmere sweater instead of silk armor. I wear the small gold earrings my mother gave me, a talisman of sorts. I look in the mirror and practice neutrality, the boardroom face that reveals nothing. But my reflection shows the cracks. The car service I call isn't my usual one. I don't want my regular driver, who knows me, who might remember this evening when he drives me to other meetings. I want anonymity. I want the option to pretend this never happened if I need to. Manhattan at twilight is its own kind of beautiful. The sky gradient from blue to gold to deep purple. Lights beginning to glow in windows. The city transforming from work to whatever comes after. The car moves down Fifth Avenue, through Washington Square Park where students and artists and tourists blend in the failing light, toward the West Village where streets narrow and the city feels more human, more forgiving. Madeline's is tucked between a bookshop and a vintage clothing store on a tree-lined street that feels transported from another era. The cafe's windows glow with warm amber light. Through them, I can see weathered wooden tables, mismatched chairs, walls covered in old photographs and handwritten menus. It's the kind of place Daniel would love, the kind of place I used to love, before I learned to prefer establishments where the sommelier knows my name and the tables are always available. I'm 10 minutes early. I tell the driver I'll text when I need pickup, and I stand on the sidewalk, breathing in the autumn air, watching my breath fog in the cooling evening. And then I see him. Daniel is already inside, sitting at a corner booth, and the 7 years collapse in an instant. He's older, lines at his eyes, silver threading through his dark hair, but unmistakably him. Same way of holding his coffee cup with both hands, same slight forward lean when he's thinking. He's wearing a jacket I don't recognize, looking down at something on the table, and for a moment I can just watch him, unobserved, the way he used to watch me through a camera lens. He looks up as if sensing my gaze, and our eyes meet through the window. The expression on his face is complex. Relief, anxiety, something else I can't name. He raises one hand in a small wave, and I realize I'm crying, tears cold on my cheeks in the October air, and I don't even know why. I walk inside. The cafe smells like coffee and old wood, and something baking in a kitchen I can't see. A few other customers occupy scattered tables, but they're absorbed in their own worlds. A couple sharing a dessert, a man reading a book, a woman typing on a laptop. The background music is jazz, something vintage and melancholic. Daniel stands as I approach, and we both hesitate, unsure of the protocol for this moment. Do we hug? Shake hands? The 7 years of distance make even basic gestures feel loaded with meaning. Vic, he says, and my name in his voice is a time machine. Thank you for coming. Hi, I manage, sliding into the booth across from him. Up close, I can see the changes more clearly. The lines are from smiling, sun damage around his eyes. The silver in his hair makes him look distinguished rather than old. He's aged well, the way some people do when they've made peace with their choices. You look good. So do you, he says, and there's something sad in how he says it. Though I expected you would. I've seen the magazines. A waitress appears, an older woman with kind eyes and an accent I can't place. She takes my order, tea, I can't handle coffee right now, and disappears, giving us space. Silence settles between us, heavy with everything we're not saying. I wasn't sure you'd come, Daniel finally says. I wasn't sure either, I admit. Your letter was vague. I know. I didn't know how to write what I needed to say in a letter. He runs his hand through his hair, a gesture I remember from 1,000 moments of stress or deep thought. I've been trying to figure out how to do this for 7 years. My stomach tightens. Do what? He looks at me directly now, and I see something in his eyes I didn't expect. Not regret, exactly. Something deeper. Something that looks almost like fear. Tell you why I really left, he says. The cafe seems to grow quieter. Or maybe it's just that all my attention has narrowed to this moment, this table, this man who once promised me forever and then walked away. You said you couldn't do it anymore, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. You said I didn't see something. You said maybe I wasn't supposed to see it. The old anger surfaces, surprising me with its immediacy. You were cryptic then, and you're being cryptic now. If you have something to say, Daniel, just say it. He nods, acknowledging the fairness of my frustration. You're right. You deserve directness. You've always deserved that. He pauses, gathering himself. But this isn't... It's not what you think. It's not about you doing something wrong or me being unhappy with your success. It's about something I did. Something I couldn't tell you then because I thought it would hurt you more than leaving would. My heart is hammering now. What did you do? It's complicated, he says, and then immediately corrects himself. No, that's not fair. It's actually very simple. I need you to understand the context first. I need you to remember who we were back then. I remember, I say quietly. We were broke. We were ambitious. We loved each other. Until we didn't. That's the thing, Vic. His voice drops, becomes more intense. I never stopped loving you. That's what made it so much harder. The waitress returns with my tea, and the interruption feels both jarring and necessary. A moment to breathe, to process. I wrap my hands around the cup, needing something to hold on to. Then why did you leave? The question comes out smaller than I intended, more vulnerable. The question I've carried for 7 years finally spoken aloud. Daniel looks down at his hands, then back up at me. Because I found something that changed everything. And I had to make a choice between protecting you and protecting myself, and I chose wrong. I know that now. I've known it for a long time. But back then, I convinced myself that leaving was the kinder option. Found what? Daniel, you're still not making sense. He reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a photograph. Old, slightly faded, the edges worn from handling. He slides it across the table to me. It's a picture of a woman I don't recognize. She's young, maybe early 20s, standing in front of a building with architectural details that suggest Europe. She's smiling, but there's something careful about the smile, something guarded. I look up at Daniel, confused. Who is this? That, he says, his voice tight with emotion, is where this story really begins. And I need to tell you everything, from the start, because the truth is connected to things about your own life that you never knew. Things I discovered by accident. Things that made me realize that telling you would either destroy you or destroy us, and I didn't think we could survive both. The cafe feels very far away suddenly, like I'm looking at it through water. What are you talking about? What about my life? Your family, Vic. Your mother specifically. He takes a breath. The inheritance that came through right before your business took off. The money that you thought came from an aunt you barely knew. Cold spreads through my chest. What about it? It didn't come from your aunt, Daniel says quietly. And I know that because I'm the one who found out where it really came from. And when I did, I had to make a choice about whether to tell you, and I made the wrong one. The world tilts slightly, tilts. The inheritance, $50,000 that appeared 6 months before my first major success, the seed money that let me manufacture my first real collection, the gift that my mother said came from her late sister, Aunt Caroline, who I'd met maybe twice in my childhood. Where did it come from? My voice sounds far away to my own ears. Daniel looks at me with such sadness. That's what I need to tell you. All of it. But I need you to know that whatever you feel after you hear this, anger, betrayal, whatever, I deserve it. I've been living with this for 7 years, and it's time you finally knew the truth. The photograph of the unknown woman lies between us on the table. And outside, through the cafe windows, night falls completely over the West Village. And somewhere in my penthouse 47 floors above Manhattan, the life I thought I understood waits for me like a museum of beautiful lies. I can't move, can't speak. The tea grows cold in my hands, while Daniel sits across from me, waiting for permission to demolish whatever remains of the story I've told myself about who I am and where I came from. Tell me, I finally whisper. He nods slowly, as if this moment requires ceremony, witnessing. It started about 8 months before I left. You were working on the collection that eventually got you noticed, the sustainable evening wear line. You were obsessed, working 20-hour days, barely sleeping. I was worried about you, but I also knew better than to interfere when you were in that mode. I remember. Those months blur together in my memory. Fabric and sketches and phone calls and the desperate terror that I was running out of time, that my one chance was slipping away. I was home alone one afternoon, Daniel continues, and your mother called. She sounded upset. Your grandmother had just died, and she was going through old family documents. She asked if you were home, and when I said no, she asked if I could help her with something. She said she'd found papers that referenced Aunt Caroline's will, and she needed help understanding the legal language. Okay, I say, though nothing about this feels okay. She emailed me the documents. I printed them out. And that's when I noticed something strange. He pauses. The inheritance, the $50,000, it wasn't structured like a normal inheritance. There was a trust involved, and the trust had a name that didn't match Aunt Caroline's name. It was called the Sterling Legacy Trust, and it had been established in 1998, 2 years after you were born. My birthday is in 1996. I was born Victoria Ann Sterling, my mother's maiden name. She always told me she kept her name because she was proud of her family, independent, modern before modern was common. I didn't think much of it at first, Daniel says. I figured it was just some family financial planning thing. But then I noticed the trustee's name, a lawyer in Philadelphia I'd never heard of, and I got curious. Maybe I shouldn't have been, but I was. So I Googled the lawyer's name. He pulls out his phone, searches for something, shows me a website for a small law firm in Philadelphia, specializing in adoptions and family reunification. The word adoptions hits me like a physical blow. No, I say immediately. No. My mother would have told me if I was adopted. We were close. She wouldn't. You weren't adopted, Daniel interrupts gently. At least not in the traditional sense. But the lawyer, the trust, the timing, it all pointed to something more complicated. So I did something I probably shouldn't have. I contacted the lawyer. You what? My voice rises slightly, drawing a brief glance from the couple at the nearby table. I know. I had no right. But I told myself I was protecting you. That if there was something about your family you didn't know, you deserved to have someone find out first, to figure out how to tell you in a way that wouldn't hurt you. He laughs bitterly. I was so sure I was being noble. What did the lawyer say? At first, nothing. Attorney-client privilege, confidentiality, all of it. But I kept pushing. I told him I was your husband, that I was concerned about legal issues that might affect you. Eventually, he agreed to meet with me. Just once. Off the record. Daniel stops, drinks what must be cold coffee, steadies himself. He told me that your mother had contacted him in 1998, shortly after you were born. She wanted to establish a trust for you that would pay out when you turned 30, around the age she figured you'd be trying to establish yourself, start a business, need seed capital. The money was supposed to look like it came from family, from Aunt Caroline, because your mother didn't want you asking questions about where it really came from. Where did it come from? I'm gripping the edge of the table now. From your father, Daniel says quietly. I shake my head. My father died before I was born. Car accident. My mother was 3 months pregnant when it happened. She's told me the story 100 times. That's what she told you, Daniel says. But it's not what happened. The cafe tilts. Or maybe I tilt. I can't tell anymore. Your father didn't die, Vic. He left. Your mother was pregnant, and he left. And he's been sending money. Through lawyers, through trusts, through carefully structured legal agreements, for your entire life. The inheritance wasn't from Aunt Caroline. It was from him. His way of helping you without being in your life. I stand abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. Several customers look over. I don't care. You're lying. Why would my mother lie about something like that? Why would she create an elaborate story about a dead father if he was alive? I don't know, Daniel says, standing too. But the lawyer confirmed it. He showed me documents. Your father's name, his signature, bank statements, the trust agreement, all of it. And there was a letter. A letter your father wrote to be given to you if you ever found out the truth. The lawyer gave me a copy. He reaches into his jacket again, pulls out an envelope. Old, yellow with age, my name written on the front in handwriting I don't recognize. I've been carrying this for 7 years, Daniel says. Because when I found out, when I understood what this meant, I panicked. I realized that if I told you, your entire relationship with your mother, who had just lost her own mother, would be destroyed. You'd hate her for lying to you your whole life. You'd go searching for this father who clearly didn't want to be found. And I thought maybe it was kinder not to tell you, to let you keep believing the story you'd always believed, to protect you from a truth that could only hurt you. So you left instead. The words come out flat, emotionless, because I'm beyond emotion now. I'm in some other territory entirely. I couldn't stay and keep this secret from you every day. I couldn't look at you and pretend I didn't know. And I couldn't tell you and destroy your relationship with your mother, right when you were on the verge of success. So I convinced myself that leaving was the noble thing, that I was protecting you from pain by removing myself from the equation. He laughs again, that same bitter sound. I was an idiot and a coward, and I've regretted it every single day since. I take the envelope from his hand. It weighs almost nothing. Inside is a truth that rewrites my entire life. Why now? I ask. Why tell me this now, 7 years later? Because your mother is gone. Because you don't need protecting anymore. Because I saw that interview you did last month on that podcast, talking about how the inheritance from Aunt Caroline saved your business, gave you your start, and I realized you're still living in the story, the lie, and it's not fair. You deserve to know the truth, even if you hate me for telling you. I look down at the envelope, my name in unfamiliar handwriting. A letter from a dead man who isn't dead, from a father who is a stranger, from a past that I thought I understood. Did you read it? I ask. No, it's not mine to read. The cafe has returned to its ambient noise, jazz and quiet conversation, and the hiss of the espresso machine. But I'm no longer in it. I'm somewhere between the life I thought I had and whatever comes next. I need to go, I say. Vic, I need to think. I can't finish the sentence because I don't know what I need. I walk toward the door, the envelope clutched in my hand. Daniel calls my name, but I don't turn around. Outside, the October air is sharp, clarifying. I start walking, not toward my penthouse, not toward anywhere specific, just away. My phone rings, Rachel probably wondering where I am. I silence it. I walk through the West Village streets, past restaurants where people are laughing over wine, past shops closing for the night, past my own reflection in darkened windows. A well-dressed woman carrying an envelope that contains a truth that might change everything. Somewhere in Seattle, Daniel is probably still sitting in that cafe, wondering if he did the right thing by finally telling the truth. Somewhere in a cemetery in upstate New York, my mother rests under a headstone that says, "Beloved Mother," next to an empty grave marked with my father's name, and the dates of a life that apparently never ended when I thought it did. And somewhere, I don't know where, a man who is my father, who has been alive all along, wrote me a letter decades ago explaining why he left, why he paid from a distance, why he let me grow up thinking he was dead. I find a bench in a small park, sit down under a streetlight, and open the envelope. The letter is written on plain white paper, 3 pages, the handwriting careful and slightly cramped, as if the writer wasn't used to expressing himself in words. Dear Victoria, if you're reading this, it means you've learned the truth about me, and I'm sorry. Sorry that you had to learn it. Sorry that the truth exists at all. Sorry for every choice I made that led to this moment. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect understanding. But I owe you an explanation, even if it comes too late to matter. I met your mother when we were both 23, working in New York City. She was a paralegal. I was attempting to be an artist. Both of us sure that youth and passion were enough to build a life on. We fell in love the way young people do, quickly and completely, without understanding what love would eventually require from us. When she told me she was pregnant, I was terrified. Not of being a father, though that scared me too, but of failing at it the way my own father had failed. My father was violent, unpredictable, dangerous. He made my childhood a kind of ongoing disaster that I spent my adolescence recovering from. By the time I met your mother, I thought I had put that past behind me. But when she got pregnant, something broke in me. I started having panic attacks, nightmares. I became convinced that I carried my father's violence in my blood, that whatever genetic or psychological damage had made him a monster would express itself in me, that I would become him, that I would hurt you. I started seeing a therapist. He diagnosed me with severe anxiety and PTSD from my childhood. He prescribed medication, recommended treatment. But I was young and stupid and proud, and I convinced myself that the only way to protect you was to remove myself from your life entirely. So I left. 6 months before you were born. I told your mother I couldn't do it. Couldn't be a father. Couldn't stay. She begged me to reconsider, to get help, to at least try. But I was certain that I was saving you from something worse than abandonment. Your mother made me a deal. She would tell you I had died. Easier to explain to a child than abandonment. Kinder in some way she probably couldn't articulate. In exchange, I would provide financial support through a lawyer, through legal structures that would ensure you were cared for without my presence in your life. I agreed because it seemed like the least I could do. I've kept that promise. Every year, I've sent money through the trust. For your education, your future, whatever you might need. It was never enough. How could money replace a father? But it was all I could offer from a distance. I've followed your life from afar. I know you started a fashion company. I know you're successful, brilliant, everything I hoped you would be. I'm proud of you in a way I have no right to be, since I contributed nothing to who you became except genetic material and financial support. I want you to know that I think about you every day, that I dream about alternate versions of my life where I was braver, stronger, better, where I got the help I needed and stayed, where I learned to be a father instead of running from the fear of becoming my own father. But I can't rewrite history. I can only offer this inadequate explanation and this truth. I left because I loved you, because I was convinced that my love wasn't enough to overcome the damage I carried. Whether that was true or just another way of being a coward, I'll never know. If you decide you want to meet me, your mother has my contact information through the lawyer. If you don't, I understand. I've lived 30 years with my choices. I can live with this one too. You deserved a better father. I'm sorry I wasn't one. James Sterling. I read it twice, then a third time. The words blur and refocus, each reading revealing new layers of pain, confusion, cowardice disguised as protection, love warped by fear. My father is alive. My mother lied to me for 37 years before she died. The inheritance that I thought was luck, family blessing, was guilt money from a man too broken to stay. I sit on the bench as the park empties around me, as the October night grows colder, as the letter rests in my lap like evidence in a trial I never asked to be part of. My phone rings again. This time it's Daniel. I answer. "Are you okay?" he asks, and his voice carries so much concern that it cracks something in me. "I don't know," I say honestly. I don't know what okay means anymore. "Where are you?" "A park. Somewhere. I'm not sure. Can I come find you? You shouldn't be alone right now." "I'm always alone," I say, and realize it's true. I've built this entire empire alone. I've become a millionaire alone. I've been celebrated and photographed and profiled, and I'm always fundamentally alone. "That's not true," Daniel says quietly. "You chose to be alone after I left. I don't blame you for that. But it was a choice, Vic, not a fact. There are people who would be there for you if you let them. You left me, I say, and finally, the anger breaks through. You found out this massive truth about my life, and instead of telling me, instead of trusting me to handle it, you decided you knew better. You decided to protect me from information about my own life. You took away my choice, and then you left. I know, he says, and his voice breaks. I know, and I've regretted it every single day. But Vic, please listen. I was 29 years old, terrified, in over my head. Your mother had just lost her mother. You were on the verge of the biggest break of your career. I convinced myself that telling you would destroy everything at the worst possible time. I thought I was being selfless. You were being a coward, I say, but there's less venom in it now. Just exhaustion. Just truth. Yes, he agrees simply. I was. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We sit in silence on opposite ends of a phone connection, 7 years of distance and hurt humming between us like static. What do I do now? I ask finally, and I hate how small my voice sounds, how lost. Whatever you need to do, Daniel says. Read the letter again. Sit with it. Decide if you want to find him or not. There's no right answer, Vic. There's just whatever truth you can live with. I don't know what truth I can live with anymore, I whisper. Then maybe that's where you start. Figuring out what's true for you now. Not what you were told was true. Not what you built your life believing. Just what's actually true. After we hang up, I sit in the darkness of the small park, watching the occasional person walk past, living their normal lives, carrying their normal problems. Above me, the city sky is too bright with light pollution to show stars. But I look up anyway, searching for something I can't name. My father is alive, has been alive all along, living somewhere, breathing, existing in the world while I mourned a ghost. My mother, my beautiful, strong, independent mother, who raised me alone, who supported my dreams, who died 3 years ago never knowing I would learn the truth, lied to me every single day of my life. The inheritance, the seed money, the foundation of my empire, built on abandonment and guilt and a man too broken to stay. I think about the life I've built. The penthouse, the company, the magazine covers, the respect, the wealth. All of it constructed on a foundation I thought was solid, but was actually built on carefully maintained fiction. And I realize something that makes my chest ache. I've spent 7 years doing exactly what my father did, running from emotional complexity, choosing distance over difficulty, building walls around the parts of myself that were too painful to examine. After Daniel left, I could have fought for him, could have demanded answers, pursued understanding, refused to let him walk away without explanation. Instead, I let him go. Convinced myself it was cleaner that way, easier. I threw myself into work, into success, into the comfortable narrative that I was better off alone, that relationships were obstacles to ambition. I became my father. The man who ran from love because facing it was too terrifying. The realization hits me like a physical blow. I stand from the bench, my legs stiff from sitting in the cold. I start walking again, this time with purpose. I need to go home. I need to think. I need to decide who I want to be, now that the story I've been living has revealed itself as fiction. The walk back to my penthouse takes 40 minutes. I don't call a car. I need the movement, the cold air, the rhythm of steps on pavement. By the time I reach my building, my face is numb from wind, but my mind is clearer. The doorman greets me with his usual professionalism. The elevator carries me up 47 floors in silence. The penthouse door opens to the life I've built. Beautiful, expensive, empty. I make tea, I sit at my kitchen counter with the letter spread before me and my laptop open. And I do what I should have done 7 years ago when Daniel left. I demand the truth. I email the lawyer in Philadelphia. I explain who I am, that I've read my father's letter, that I want his contact information. I hit send before I can second-guess myself. Then I open a new document, and I start writing. Not for business, not for an article or interview, but for myself. I write about my mother, about the childhood I remember, about the stories she told me about my father's death. I write about Daniel, about our marriage, about the moment he left and the years of silence that followed. I write about building my company, about the decisions I made, about the relationships I avoided, about the walls I constructed. I write until dawn breaks over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold that I usually sleep through. I write until my hands ache and my eyes burn and the story of my life looks different on the page than it does in my memory. And somewhere in those pages, I find something unexpected. Compassion. Compassion for my mother, who must have loved my father enough to protect him even in absence, to construct an elaborate fiction rather than tell her daughter that her father chose to leave. Compassion for my father, whose letter reveals a man destroyed by his own trauma, convinced that love meant sacrifice, that protection meant distance. Compassion for Daniel, who made a terrible choice from a place of fear, but at least had the courage to eventually correct it. And finally, tentatively, compassion for myself. For the choices I made from fear, for the walls I built, for the years I spent running from the very thing I needed most: connection, truth, the messy complexity of letting people see me fully. The lawyer responds the next morning. Professional, cautious, but ultimately helpful. He provides a phone number with a Seattle area code and an address. He reminds me that my father established the trust with the understanding that I might someday seek contact, but that there's no obligation, no expectation. The choice is mine. I stare at the phone number for 3 hours. I'm supposed to be in meetings. Rachel has sent increasingly concerned texts, but I've cleared my schedule, telling her only that I'm dealing with a personal matter. She's too professional to push, but I can sense her worry through the screen. Finally, at 2 p.m, I dial. It rings 4 times. I'm about to hang up when a man's voice answers. Hello? Deep voice, slightly rough, cautious in the way people are when they don't recognize the number. Is this James Sterling? My voice is steadier than I expected. A long pause. Then, yes. Who is this? This is Victoria, I say. Your daughter. The silence that follows is so complete I think the call has dropped. Then I hear him breathing, unsteady, like he's been running. Victoria, he says, and my name in his voice is wonder and terror and decades of longing compressed into 4 syllables. You got my letter. I got it, yesterday, from Daniel, my ex-husband. He found out 7 years ago, but only told me now. I'm surprised by how factual I sound, like I'm reporting news rather than lived experience. 7 years, James repeats. God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to carry that without knowing the context. I'm sorry you've been carrying this your whole life, I counter, and I mean it. Another long pause. I can hear something in the background, maybe traffic, maybe music, I can't tell. I don't know what to say, he admits. I've imagined this conversation 10,000 times, and now I can't remember any of the words I practiced. Tell me something true, I say, something small, something that's not in the letter. I hear him take a breath, consider. I'm a high school art teacher now, have been for 15 years. I teach photography and painting to teenagers who think they're going to change the world. Sometimes they remind me of your mother, of that certainty she had, that belief that passion was enough. Something in my chest loosens slightly. He's real. Not a ghost, not a story, but a man who teaches art to teenagers. Do they? Change the world? I ask. Some of them, in small ways. Mostly they just learn to see things differently, which is its own kind of revolution. He pauses. I've followed your career, your company, what you've built. It's extraordinary. It was built on your money, I say, not accusatory, just factual. It was built on your vision, he corrects gently. The money was just money. What you did with it, that was all you. We talk for 2 hours. He tells me about his life, the therapy he finally got in his 30s, the medication that helped, the slow work of understanding that he wasn't his father, that trauma is inherited but not destiny. He tells me about moving to Seattle, about finding peace in teaching, about the relationships he had and lost because he couldn't quite let anyone fully in. I tell him about my mother, about the childhood she gave me, about her death 3 years ago. He cries when I tell him about her funeral, about the hundreds of people who came to honor her. She was remarkable, he says. I hope you know that. Whatever anger you feel about the lie, please know that she did it because she loved you. She protected me even though I didn't deserve it. I'm trying to understand that, I say. I'm trying to hold both things at once. That she lied and that she loved me. That you left and that you were trying to protect me. That everyone made impossible choices and some of them were wrong, but came from real places. That's all any of us can do, James says quietly. Hold the complexity. Resist the urge to make people into simple stories. Before we hang up, I ask if he would be willing to meet. In person. Not immediately, but someday. When I'm ready. Anytime, he says. I've waited 37 years. I can wait as long as you need. After the call ends, I sit in my penthouse and I cry. Not gentle tears, but the deep, body-shaking kind that comes from releasing something you've held too long. I cry for my mother and my father, and the life we might have had if fear hadn't ruled so completely. I cry for Daniel and the marriage we lost to silence. I cry for myself, for the years I spent building walls instead of bridges. And when I'm done, when the crying finally stops and I'm left exhausted and strangely lighter, I pick up my phone and call Daniel. Hi, I say when he answers. Hi, he says back, cautious, hopeful. How are you? I talked to him, my father. We talked for 2 hours. And I don't know yet. It's complicated. He's not what I expected. He's just a person. A broken person who made terrible choices but isn't a villain. I pause. Like all of us, I guess. Yeah, Daniel says softly. Like all of us. I need to tell you something, I say, gathering courage. You were right. About me not seeing things. I didn't see that I was doing the same thing my father did, choosing distance over difficulty. After you left, I could have fought for answers. Instead, I let you go because it was easier. I built my empire, but I built it alone because I was afraid of anything that required vulnerability. Vic, let me finish, I interrupt gently. You made a mistake by not telling me. But I made a mistake too by not demanding the truth, by not fighting for us, by deciding that work was safer than love. We both ran, just in different directions. Silence. Then, so what do we do now? I don't know, I admit. But I think maybe we start by being honest. Actually honest, not the kind of honest where we protect each other from hard truths. The kind where we trust each other to handle complexity. I'd like that, Daniel says. I'd like to try that. Good, I say. Because I'm tired of living in the beautiful lie. I want to try living in the messy truth for a while. See what that's like. We talk into the evening, and then we make plans to have dinner. Not tomorrow, but soon. Not a romantic gesture, but an honest one. Two people who once loved each other trying to figure out if there's anything left to build on, besides the ruins of what they had. After we hang up, I stand at my penthouse windows, watching the city lights emerge as darkness falls. Somewhere in this city, in apartments and penthouses and tiny studios, people are living their own complicated truths, carrying their own secrets, building their own empires on foundations that are more fragile than they appear. I think about the girl I was in that Brooklyn studio, hand-stitching dreams she couldn't afford. She would be amazed by this penthouse, by the empire I built, by the magazine covers and the wealth. But I think she would also be sad about what I lost along the way. The openness, the vulnerability, the willingness to let people see me fully. After I became a millionaire, I learned that success is easy compared to truth, that building an empire is simpler than building a real relationship, that wealth can buy everything except the courage to be fully known. But I'm learning now. Learning that truth is expensive but necessary, that vulnerability is terrifying but the only path to real connection, that the story we tell ourselves about our lives is never as simple as we want it to be. My father is alive and broken and trying. My mother is gone but loved me enough to lie. Daniel left but came back with truth. And I am a millionaire with an empire and an empty penthouse, and finally, the beginnings of understanding about what actually matters. The city glitters below me, indifferent and beautiful. And for the first time in 7 years, I don't feel completely alone in it. 6 months later, I'm standing in a small gallery in Seattle, surrounded by photographs that take my breath away. Daniel's exhibition, The Things We Don't Say, opened tonight. The space is modest, nothing like the high-end Manhattan galleries I'm used to, but the work on the walls is extraordinary. Each photograph captures a moment of almost revelation, people's faces just before they speak a difficult truth, hands hovering over letters they're afraid to send, silhouettes in doorways of rooms they're uncertain about entering. I flew in yesterday. Daniel doesn't know I'm here. I bought my ticket last minute, driven by an impulse I didn't fully understand until I walked through the gallery door and saw his work, really saw it, for the first time in years. He's talking to a couple across the room, animated in the way he gets when discussing art. He looks good, happy, or at least more at peace than when I saw him in that cafe 6 months ago. He's wearing the same jacket, and I wonder if it's his only nice one. And the thought makes me smile. I'm examining a photograph of a woman standing at a window, her reflection showing a different expression than her actual face, when I sense him approach. "I wasn't sure you'd come," Daniel says quietly. I turn. Up close, I can see he's nervous, hopeful, careful. I wasn't sure either, but I'm glad I did. "Daniel, this work it's extraordinary." "Thank you." He glances at the photograph I was studying. That one's called The Distance Between Story and Truth. The woman is a writer who spent 30 years claiming she was happy being single until she realized she was just afraid. Did she figure it out? The fear part? I ask. Eventually. She's married now. To herself first, then to someone else. He looks at me directly. You can be both, you know. Afraid and brave. Running and returning. It's not binary. I'm learning that, I say. We stand in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the other gallery visitors move through the space. "How's your father?" Daniel asks. "Good. Complicated. We talk every week now. Video calls mostly. I visited him last month. Spent a weekend in Seattle, met some of his students, saw where he teaches." I pause. He cried when he met me in person. Just stood there in his apartment doorway and cried. How was that for you? Hard, beautiful, real. I turned to face Daniel fully. He asked about you. Asked if we'd reconciled. I told him we were figuring out what reconciliation means. That we're taking it slow. "Are we reconciling?" Daniel asks, and there's vulnerability in the question that makes my chest ache. I think so, in our way. I gesture at the exhibition. You're doing your work, I'm doing mine. But we're honest now. That has to count for something. It counts for everything, he says quietly. A gallery assistant approaches, needs Daniel for something. He excuses himself, but before he walks away, he touches my hand briefly. A small gesture that carries the weight of everything we're trying to rebuild. I spend another hour in the gallery, studying each photograph, reading the small cards that explain the stories behind them. Several are about his own journey, the choice he made 7 years ago, the weight of keeping secrets, the relief and terror of finally telling truth. He's turned his own pain into art, his own mistakes into something that might help others see themselves more clearly. It's what I'm trying to do too, in my own way. Last month, I did something I've never done before. I told my story. The real one. Not the polished version for Forbes or TED Talks, but the messy, complicated truth about inheritance and lies and learning that success means nothing if you're building it on false foundations. I wrote an essay for a small literary magazine. Nothing with the reach of my usual platforms, but something more honest. I wrote about my mother's lie, my father's absence, Daniel's departure and return, the 7 years I spent building an empire while running from truth. I wrote about wealth as armor, about the ways we protect ourselves into isolation, about learning that vulnerability is strength, not weakness. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of messages from people who recognized their own stories in mine. From people who discovered their own family lies, their own hidden truths, their own empires built on uncertain foundations. From people who were tired of the polished version of success and hungry for something real. My company is doing better than ever, but I run it differently now. I've hired a COO to handle the day-to-day operations, freeing me to focus on design and vision, rather than grinding through 18-hour days. I've started taking weekends off. I've joined a weekly dinner group with 5 other women entrepreneurs, where we talk about more than business. I'm learning to let people in, and I'm learning to forgive. My mother, for the lie that she thought was protection. My father, for the absence he thought was love. Daniel, for the choice he made from fear. Myself, for all the years I spent mistaking isolation for independence. After I became a millionaire, I thought I had arrived. Thought that wealth and success meant I'd figured out the important things. I was wrong. After I became a millionaire, I learned that the real work isn't building an empire. It's building a life. It's letting people know you. It's telling the truth, even when it's terrifying. It's understanding that we're all broken in our own ways, that we all make impossible choices, that love and fear and courage and cowardice exist in the same human hearts. The exhibition closes at 9. Daniel and I go to a late dinner at a quiet restaurant near the gallery. We talk about his work, my essay, the ways we're both trying to be braver. We talk about the possibility of him moving back to New York, or me spending more time in Seattle. We don't make promises, but we make plans. Small ones, honest ones. If this story touched you, leave your rating from 0 to 10 in the comments, and subscribe for the next journey. When I fly back to Manhattan the next morning, I look out the airplane window at the clouds below and think about truth. About how it's always there, waiting, patient. About how we can run from it for years, decades, entire lives. But eventually, if we're lucky, if we're brave, we stop running. I became a millionaire. But the real fortune, the one that actually matters, is learning to live in the truth. Messy and complicated and beautiful as it is. My penthouse waits for me 47 floors above the city, but it doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels like a place I live, rather than a place I hide. And in the morning, I'll call my father. I'll video chat with Daniel. I'll have coffee with my dinner group friends. I'll work on designs that mean something to me rather than just designs that will sell. I'll live in the truth. The expensive, difficult, absolutely necessary truth. And I'll be grateful. Not for the wealth, though that's nice, but for the revelation, for the return, for the second chance to get it right. After I became a millionaire, I learned what really matters, and it was never the money.